Good evening and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the think tank that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of your ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. And tonight we have, when I call us natural resources, when I call the people natural resources, I mean it because there's certain things people know and certain things that people do that if it's produced on a bigger scale, it would be beneficial to most of us. So this is what this sister is going to talk about tonight, some of the technologies that's been out there and some of the technologies that's been going over our head. So she's going to share it with you. You know, if you have any questions in the chat, please feel free. And tonight, I introduce you to Rae Thomas. How you doing, Rae?
Oh, great. How are you?
Everything is well. The matrix reprinting, the orgonite, stuff like that. A lot of us have heard of. Not how we should have, but it is skimmed by us.
Well, yeah, that's a reason because they usually dump those people in crazy houses or kill them. You know, we can think of people like Tesla or someone everybody knows, Dr. Sebi.
Right.
And what they did to him. So they don't want this stuff out because, if you're not dying or sick or they can't make money off of you with pharmaceuticals and surgery and stuff like that, then, that doesn't help them. Harms us, but helps them if we're sick and they can continuously make money off of us.
Yeah, I interviewed a guy named Spaceman. He lives over there in Arkansas. This dude took his daughter's go-kart and made it an airplane.
Wow.
It's online and everything. And I mean, these are the kind of technologies, working with molecules and stuff that we can use, but to me, it seems like we don't have enough people into this stuff, where we could have plants, where we could build things for ourselves. It just doesn't seem to be, we don't look at it like that. We look at it as some kind of magic or something like that. Can you explain that? Because I know you're into it. And what kind of feedback do you get when you're sharing this information?
Well, magic really is like science undiscovered. Years ago, before the airplane came out, or everybody thought the Earth was, well, it is round, but I guess we shouldn't get into that flat Earth, round Earth thing up on here. But you know what I mean? Before they discovered this stuff, everybody's like, oh, it's magic, you're going to hell. And it's like, no, it's just science. It's just stuff undiscovered. And from what I've heard, people have talked to like Catholic people, like nuns, priests about this, and they're all into this stuff. Like for radionics, for example, we've gotten rates from a Benedictine monk. He's dead now, but he's given us rates to like help with healing. So they're all into this stuff. They tell the general populace not to use it, but they use it.
So when you say radionics, give us what is radionics, or what does that consist of?
Well, radionics was discovered by Albert Abrams, and basically what it is like, everything has a frequency. So with radionics we say balancing. So everything has a frequency. So let's say your dog is sick or something like that, and he has like, let's say like a toothache or something. You can send the frequency for like that specific tooth. You'll find the general value rate for it, which is basically like I'm trying to think how I'm going to explain this simply. Finding a normal energy. So if I put you into the radionics machine and I put my scales from like the GV rate for it, finding the GV rate for you, that would be what you are. So if you're at 500, let's say, and I'm like, okay, what's going on with the tooth? I put that in there and it says like 200, then that would mean that you have an imbalance somewhere in your tooth. So if I can send a frequency there to heal it, it'll heal your tooth. So Albert Abrams found that everything has a frequency. Your stomach has a frequency, your heart has a frequency, you have a frequency, I have a frequency. Everything has a frequency. And he discovered this through his patients. So he was like, I'm trying to think, because sometimes I get him and Rife mixed up, because I do Rife too. But basically he discovered, like I said, everything has a frequency, and if I can balance this frequency out, I can cure this person of whatever ailment they have. We don't say cure, but we'll say balance out. But radionics has done some amazing stuff. So basically, Albert Abrams died like a lot of these people do. His work was just trashed because Pennsylvania was a mainstay for like radionics, a mainstay for it. And a lot of people around the world study it, but it's more of a hidden art because you can't say it cures anything or anything like that, because then they'll come get you, sue you, or some other unfortunate thing will happen to you. So radionics is basically balancing out frequencies and maladies. Did I explain that right?
Oh, I got it. Is it kind of like biofeedback?
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
In a sense, yes. So you have a frequency for love, you have a frequency for harmony. So if I wanted to send the frequency of love to you, then, you know, I put you in a machine. Now we use bracelets because if you actually put people in a machine, it's illegal. You can put a sample of your dirt outside in your garden in the machine. You can put a sample of your dog's hair in there, but you can't put people in there because they'll call it practicing medicine without a license.
So that's how you know it works.
Pretty much. So some of the things we do is we'll put it in bracelets, like this. This is a bracelet here that I have, so I'll put frequencies. I have about like 300 frequencies in here.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And the frequencies, you have rates. So you have like different kinds of machines. Some people have like the electronic machine, and the KRT, the Kelly Research Technology machines, are top of the line. The military uses those. So just so you know, the military also uses radionics.
Wow. So you were talking about Rife. I assume that's Royal Rife?
Yes. Now, radionics is a spiritual art. Rife was actually proven with physics and the electron microscope. So he actually invited all these people to come see how Rife works. And it works kind of off the same thing, except that it's physically proven. So in radionics, if you put a rate in and let's say you make a mistake, it'll still work as if you didn't make the mistake. If you do something similar to Rife, it just won't work at all. But Rife was physically proven, like I said, physically proven because he put some of this stuff under a microscope, and he's cured other things that he had other like scientists come and observe, and they were amazed. But of course, you know, they said it was all quackery and buffoonery, and his name got blotted out of science as well.
Yeah, I've heard of him
a
few years ago. It's pretty interesting. And it's like you said about Dr. Sadie now. I mean, his name should be on everybody's tongue, especially as far as it goes in health, you know?
Yes, but yeah, it really should be, but people hide these kind of things, you know? And for example, all these technologies are rather cheap. Like you can go on Spooky2. Spooky2 is the... I'm sorry, I don't know what happened with this computer. Can you hear me now?
I could hear you then.
Oh, okay, great. My computer kind of blacked out here. It's kind of an old computer, so. But anyway, radionics, like I was saying, is a spiritual art. And we'll call it that. I'm trying to think what I was talking about before this blacked out because I lost my train of thought. That happens a lot because I have a lot of things going in my head.
I have a question. I have a question.
Sure.
Could you explain frequency? What is frequency? I know we hear it all the time, and I know it's a term that's always used, but can you give us an example of it? You know, in real...
Okay. So like electronic magnetic frequencies, for example, like from your cell phones. These give off frequencies, harmful frequencies.
What frequency?
EMFs, electronic magnetic frequencies.
Okay.
So that's what orgonite helps to protect against as well. So I'll go into that in a bit. But a frequency is basically like, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Like, I guess if you want to think of, let's say we're all on like radio station Earth, right?
Okay.
So that Earth has its own frequency. You have your own frequency. I have my own frequency. And it's basically like, kind of like your signature or your For those who are magically inclined, your sigil. So it's you, like it's your assigned. What's the word I'm looking for here? Your assigned energy, kind of. But like frequencies you can measure, they do it with radio frequencies, they do it with EMFs. And it's just basically, I would say, your signature, as it were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. So the EFT.
Sure.
What's that about?
Emotional freedom technique. So that was discovered by Gary Craig. That was probably in the late 70s, early 80s. So he basically found out that, you know, when something happens to you in your youth, you get all these emotions trapped within you, you know, like PTSD, things like this. Like right. You get people that, you know, let's say they've been in war or someone got murdered or something, like these horrible things. And it doesn't even have to be something like that. A good example is, like I used to work at an art museum, and I was assistant to the director at the art museum. And, you know, people taking pictures, everything like that. She'd be in the pictures, but she'd never smile. So one day I was like, you know, why don't you ever smile in these pictures? Like, you always look miserable. And she's like, oh, well, you know, when I was a child, my dad said that if I smile, he was going to knock my teeth out my fucking mouth. Excuse my French, or, you know. Yeah. Yep. And, you know, she didn't take it seriously. She must have been like 6 or 8 or something like that. She didn't take it seriously. And she smiled. And the next thing you know, bop! Her dad smacked her across the face and knocked a tooth out her mouth. And after that, she never smiled again in pictures. And this lady was like 60 something.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And this kind of stuff, you know, because it might be like, okay, like her brain, even though she knows logically, you know, yeah, I can smile in pictures, like her father is long gone. But because that memory still stayed there, your brain kind of functions off of as if that's true. And as if almost like you're not 6, but it almost regulates off of that experience, you know, because we all have echoes. And when stuff happens to us, a part of your brain, believe it or not, actually opens up, takes in that experience, closes up again, and you go on with your life. Like, you ever wonder how people go through these crazy, horrible abuses, whether it's war, whether it's murder, whether it's rape, or whatever like that, and they can keep on living?
Yes.
Yeah, your brain opens up, takes that in, a part of your brain opens up, takes that in, we'll call them kind of echoes, because he calls them echoes, and goes back in your brain after the trauma's done. And you still realize it's there, but sometimes people don't. And it's like, you know, it's almost way back in the back of their memory somewhere. And these are echoes, and these things, you know, basically dictate how you live your life. So if you spilt, like, you know, chocolate on the floor and your mom yelled at you, you might think you can never be happy again. You know it's weird, but your brain's still going off of that 6-year-old self because that trauma hasn't been healed.
I was having a conversation with a sister, and we were talking about, you know, the things that happened to us as children. One of the things was how we used to get whoopings and stuff. And she was saying that was never cool. So I asked her, well, how do we get to the point where, you know, even the comedians try to make it funny? And she was saying they were trying to cover up for it, but it's really a bad, I don't know what you would call it, but it sticks with us through our whole life, and we do it to our children and so on and so forth. Is that anything like what you're talking about?
Sort of, but if, like, to be honest, I mean, I got my butt whipped when I was younger, and I deserved that because I was an asshole little kid. And I think that if they did more ass whoopings around here, maybe some of these kids wouldn't be that bad off. But that's just my personal experience. But if someone else, like, you know, had, you know, an abusive situation with it, then yeah, that can stick in their memory.
Yeah, but we're trying to find out, why is it like that? Why do you have to resort? I mean, because I think it caused a lot more damage than we've let on. I know people who, like you say, 60 years old, still bring that up. And whereas an adult is supposed to be in a position where they're supposed to be teaching the kid what to do and stuff. And I think sometimes it get out of hand. No, I'm not just.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm not talking like a regular ass whooping like I used to get, because I was kind of like you. I was like,
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about.
Some kids you just have to do that to. I mean, some kids, you can talk to, and all right, don't do that, and they won't do it. Some of
Right.
these kids, you can do the Euro route and put them in a corner. That shit usually doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
And some kids, you gotta get the switch out on them because they're just, But if you go overboard and then it starts getting into abuse,
Right.
which sometimes it does, then yeah, you're going to have problems with that. And I think a lot of these are learned behaviors, so they get passed down. And I mean, luckily there are ways to heal that.
Uh-huh.
But did that answer your question?
Oh yeah. Most definitely. Yeah. So here this brother asks, sometimes I can sense my favorite song. Turn on the radio and the song would be on. I've had that happen too. What is that?
Could be synchronicity. Like, sometimes you think about people and then they just pop up and they happen to call you.
Right.
Or it could be there's lots of explanations. It could be he was thinking about a song and then it just happens to come on. Maybe he, manipulated the universe in some way. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe he was just in sync with this song's coming on next. I'm starting to think of it. It could be lots of things.
I mean, but if you haven't heard the song in let's say 10 years, and I'm wondering, is that where you talk about frequency? How does the frequency play in that, if it does play in that?
Well, if you wanted to use frequency, it could be that, okay, maybe this song popped in your head because you were maybe vibing on that frequency, because music carries frequencies too.
Right.
Like frequencies in layman's terms, I consider like a signature. Like everything has its own frequency. So maybe he vibed on that frequency and it came up. Or you were thinking of the song, from 10 years ago and it just popped in your head. Could be other stuff too. Maybe something popped in your mind to make you remember that song. It's a weird world out there.
Matrix reimprinting.
Now, matrix reimprinting is pretty interesting because with EFT, you're tapping on these points like here, and we're going to do a sample soon. And you're tapping on these points, and the whole point is to relieve the emotional trauma behind an event. So we'll get like a SUID number, and that's basically, standard unit of measurement for an emotion. So if we think of a topic and you're like, I feel sad, I feel angry, then I'm going to ask you, okay, what is your number, 0 to 10? And the whole point is to get those numbers down to 0. And, with that, it kind of releases the emotional impact of the trauma. So it still happens, but it doesn't have the same emotional impact that it does. And with that can change your life. With matrix reimprinting, you are learning a lesson. So you're actually going back into the matrix. And this works really well for, I've done this on people that have been victims of satanic ritual abuse and like rapes, things like that. So stuff like that, it's really great for because it's gentle. They're going back into the matrix and they're essentially their own hero, which is builds up self-confidence and helps them think about the situation in a different way. So they learn a lesson from it. Instead of the negative lesson they learned, they'll learn something positive from it. So let's say somebody stole something from you. It could be like, well, what'd you learn from that? And the thing is, you're thinking of your own lessons. So it's basically like we're helping you to help yourself. And with that, you gain some confidence, you gain some assurance about yourself, which I think is what we're missing in this community as a whole, as indigenous peoples.
Right.
So this helps you with that. You understand?
Oh yeah. I definitely got it. So and then I'm gonna let you do the show us all this stuff. But my favorite, orgonite.
Oh, so orgonite was you had orgone energy, which was discovered by Wilhelm Reich. So he discovered that everything that's living has this energy. It's really your sexual energy, but not in a porno type whatever way. It's just everything that has a sex attributed to it has this kind of energy. So with orgonite helps to balance out that energy. It also helps to negate EMFs from cell phones, laptops, computers. That's what we were talking about with frequencies, electronic magnetic frequencies. So it helps to balance that out. So sometimes they would call these like tower busters. So they would just throw them at like, towers or wherever, to kind of like, I guess, like, blitz the EMFs that are coming off of it. My orgonite I make is also pieces of art. So I hope nobody's chucking any of, their stuff at towers. My computer's blacked out again. There it is. But then you have Carl Weltz, which came up with orgonite. So going back to Wilhelm Reich made basically an orgon chamber, an orgon accumulator chamber, and he cured cancer with it. And there's like a little center that has all his stuff. I forgot what town it's in, but the government, of course, came and stole all his research, and he ended up dying broke. I think he died in jail. So that's with his research with orgon. He was just balancing out, like, with like metal. He used metal with like inorganic or an organic material mixed in to balance out the negative they call it poor endure positive orgon energy and negative orgon energy, or destructive orgon energy. So he was using that to balance it out. With Carl Wells, he discovered, okay, inorganic, you can put resonance. So this is a plastic, metals, crystals, and all that together will help to, balance out the negative energy that's coming from people. So it's great for people who work in like hospitals or around lots of negative people and stuff, because it does give a sort of environment of calmness, and it's a subtle like energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, because all this stuff has to be, because Wilhelm Reich, he wrote the book, The Function of the Orgasm, right?
Mm-hmm. He wrote a couple of books, yeah.
Yeah. So, and earlier you were talking about it's not sex in a porno type way. It's sex in because what I look at sex is it's a reproductive mechanism.
Oh, it is, but because I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was like, no, because I think sex. I mean, I know it's great and I know it's fun, but the baseline is of the reproduction part of it.
That's right.
Does it have anything to do with that? Because it creates life.
It is true, because Wilhelm Reich was a sexual psychoanalyst, but because we're, as a society, as Americans, we're just oversaturated with sex, this kind of thing. So that's why I put that in there. Right. But that's what he got it off of. He studied like sexual nature of people, and discovered orgon energy, which is something inherent in us all, and then used it to make the orgon accumulator box, and cured people of cancer and all the rest of these maladies they have because of destructive orgon energy.
So why isn't that stuff just available to us?
Oh, well, because the whole point is to just... Okay, my personal opinion is that as people here, we're pretty much slaves. As a human race, we're pretty much enslaved, or wards, or whatever you want to call it. So if that's the case, and food, so if that's the case, people like the pharmaceutical companies, they don't stand to gain a whole lot if you find out about technologies like these that can help you, and that are reasonably priced. They don't stand to gain from that. If you have a whole bunch of like healthy people, or people who aren't as jacked up as they could be, that's billions of dollars that the pharmaceutical industry is not getting, that the health industry is not getting. Doctors aren't getting paid, psychiatrists aren't getting paid, psychologists aren't getting paid. But also keep in mind, some of that stuff for people, I guess, it does work. But then sometimes people need something extra, and not everything works for everybody, But basically the whole point of it is money. People aren't getting paid, Do
you think with this COVID thing going on, do you think it's a good time for that type of technology to flourish?
Oh, of course, because people are at home, ain't doing anything else. So, what better thing to do than to just research, things that could help you.
Well, cool. Well, give us some examples of all of them. The ones you can.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Okay, give us some examples of how they work, or is it something that we can do sitting here watching you?
Oh, sure. Well, let's see. My radionics machine is upstairs, and
go get it. I'm kidding.
Oh, that thing is big. I mean, next time we'll do a show, and I'll like if you want, and I'll show people it, and I'll show people my Rife machine and everything. But radionics, you can actually make. Some people have made paper radionics machines. We found that the ones that are actual electrical ones work the best from like Kelly Research Technologies. But people have made all types, and that's a Hieronymus machine. You have two different types of radionics machines. So you have like the Hieronymus one and the Delwar one. And the Delwar one is the one that they have over in Europe. Hieronymus is the one that we usually practice here. So, let's see. Those maybe next time. EFT, we could do now, and everybody else can participate in it.
Oh, I'm in.
All right. Let me get a piece of paper out. So I guess, let me think. Maybe a good topic would be, and if you don't mind, I'd like to use you as a demo.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So, one of the things, for example, can you think of a topic that's getting on your nerves or whatever, or maybe something else, like people can come back to this broadcast and they can tap on too, because you can actually do something called borrowing benefits. So with EFT, even though I'm working on you, if everyone else does the same thing and they're tapping along with us, then this will help them too, and me, because I'm tapping with you. So
Okay, yeah, the
election. Okay. Oh crap, there we go. Maybe I need to use another pen for this. Okay. So, what emotions does the election bring up for you?
It brings up the emotion. Are we really this dumb to follow this stuff? Because this whole election thing hasn't worked since it started, and it definitely hasn't worked for us. It brings up this thought about how can people be so stupid to follow this?
Okay.
So an example, one of the examples I'll give, because I'm originally from California, and so this is an example how I got to this. So I used to live in California, and about time the polling places were closed in California, they would be declaring a winner, and I'm like, how do you do that in the most popular state? And also Washington, Oregon, Nevada, you still have a whole bunch of people over here who haven't voted. How do you declare a winner when you haven't even counted the votes over here?
Yep. I'm just writing some of this stuff down.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Excuse me for 1 minute because I want to get a better pen.
Okay.
This is not working for whatever reason. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So, to the crowd, to the people in the chat room.
Here we go. Okay, so one of the things I'm also going to ask you is, in terms of emotion, does it make you feel, for example, aggravated or annoyed or sad and something like that?
Annoyed.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait 1 second. I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said annoyed.
For some reason, I lost audio.
Annoyed.
talking.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It makes me feel annoyed because it's like, because sometimes I talk to people and it's like, how don't you understand if you're watching the same thing that I'm watching? Or you're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? Still no sound?
Wait a minute. It's giving everything. Okay. Hello?
You hear me now? No? You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yep. Lost audio.
Okay, will you okay, check. You can hear me, right? No, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Oh, Jesus.
No.
Hello?
No. I'm here. I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Let's go.
For some reason, I can't hear anything.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. Well, this is what we're going to do. So since I can't hear anything, I'm still going to try to go ahead with this. I don't know what happened here. It's really embarrassing. Okay. So with this election, you can still hear me, right? Okay. I'm going to try to do the sample up here with you. It is going to be a little hard because I can't really hear you. I don't know what happened here with this. I had this all plugged in and it was working. But until I can hear you again, we're just going to do kind of like with number sign language. So when I'm like, okay, how do you feel about this emotion? You can hold up like, fingers like, okay, I'm feeling a 10 or a 7 or something like that, I'm sorry about this. I don't know what happened. But, okay, so let's say, are you feeling aggravated about the elections? Okay. Annoyed? Okay. So, from 0 to 10, how annoyed do you feel? A 5? Okay. Are you feeling any other emotions about it? No? Just annoyed? Okay. So, I'm going to go over the recipe really quick, right, for EFT. So, we have a karate chop point here, which are these points that are lined up against your palm. We have them on either side. So, I'm going to also ask you to follow along. But before that happens, just, watch so you can get an idea of where the points are. So, we'll start off and, we'll chop on here like 3 times. You can go like this. But because I like to activate all of these points, I go like this. So that way, yeah, like that. That way they're on both sides of the hand, And then I'm going to have you repeat a phrase 3 times. And then from that, we're going to go right here. This eyebrow point. It's right around here. We want to tap on like 2 of these. Then we have the side of the eye. We have under the eye. We have under the nose. And we have the chin. And the collarbone points. Okay, good. So now I'm going to have you repeat after me. So we're going to go, okay, we're going to start with the karate points here. So, kind of like, or you can go like this. Is it easier for you to do this? Okay. So, even though, can you repeat after me? Yep. Even though I feel annoyed about these elections.
I feel annoyed about these elections.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Good. Even though I feel annoyed about these elections.
I feel annoyed about these elections.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Good. Even though I feel annoyed about these elections.
I feel annoyed about these elections.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Good. Annoyed. And you tap and you say, repeat after me, annoyed.
Annoyed.
Good. Side. Annoyed.
Annoyed.
I feel annoyed about these elections.
I feel annoyed about these elections.
I feel very annoyed about these elections.
I feel very annoyed about these elections.
Annoyed.
Annoyed.
Are we just dumb for following along with this?
Are we just dumb for following along with this?
Do these elections do any good?
Do these elections do any good?
And then there's a point up here, so I'm annoyed.
I'm annoyed.
I'm annoyed about these elections. Yeah, right around there. That's the pot spot, right around there.
I'm annoyed about
I feel very annoyed about these elections.
I feel very annoyed about these elections.
Okay, now we're going to go right here. Right here again. Are we really dumb to follow along with this?
Are we really dumb to follow along with this?
Side of eye. How is this helping us as a people?
How is this helping us as a people?
Is this really helping us as a people, these elections?
Is this really helping us as a people, these elections?
I feel annoyed.
I feel annoyed.
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 I feel really annoyed.
I feel really...
Would you say that you feel like this is a waste of time? Like the elections, would you say that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. I feel like these elections are a waste of time.
I feel like these elections are a waste of time.
These elections are a waste of time.
These elections are a waste of time.
And right here, I feel really annoyed.
I feel really annoyed.
Usually I like to go through about 3 times. I feel really annoyed.
I feel really annoyed.
Very annoyed.
Very annoyed.
So annoyed that I feel a 5 in annoyance.
So annoyed I feel a 5 in annoying.
Annoyance.
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 Okay. So I'm going to ask you again, on a scale from 0 to 10, how annoyed do you feel? A 3? Okay, good. So we're going to go again. Right? The whole point is to get this down to 0. So, even though I feel annoyed about these elections, right here, right now, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
You say that's true, right? Like right here, right now, you're okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. What are these elections really for?
What are these elections really for?
Even though I wonder what these elections are really for.
Even though I wonder what these elections are really for.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Even though
Even though
I feel annoyed at these elections.
I feel annoyed at these elections.
Right here, right now,
Right here, right now,
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
All right, good. Annoyed.
Annoyed.
Right here. I feel really annoyed at these elections.
I feel really annoyed at these elections.
I mean, how do you count a winner, someone as a winner, when you haven't even counted all the ballots?
How can you count a winner when you haven't even counted all the ballots?
Okay. Annoyed.
Annoyed.
I'm really annoyed at stuff like that.
I'm really annoyed at stuff like that.
These elections are annoying.
These elections are annoying.
Would you say you can't wait for them to be over with?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait for these elections to be over with.
I can't wait for these elections to be over with.
I can't wait for these elections to be over with.
I can't wait for these elections to be over with.
Okay, we try up here now. Annoyed.
Annoyed.
Annoyed at these elections.
Annoyed at these elections.
Can't wait for them to be over.
Can't wait for them to be over.
Because I wonder if they're really doing us as a people any good.
I wonder if they're doing us any good as a people.
Are they doing us any good as a people? I don't know.
Are they doing us any good as a people? I don't know.
I'm annoyed.
I'm annoyed.
I'm really annoyed.
I'm really annoyed.
I'm annoyed.
I'm annoyed.
I don't know, and I don't think this is doing us any good, these elections.
I don't think these elections are doing us any good.
Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
All right. Annoyed.
Annoyed.
Because these seem like a waste of time. Would you say this seems like a waste of time, these elections?
Would you seem like these is a waste of time? Do you think these elections are a waste of time?
Okay. Annoyed.
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 Okay. What's your number now?
0? Because I don't care.
Oh, well, you gotta do this or this. Yep. So, okay. Shit. See? 5 to 3 to 0.
Uh-huh.
So, still trying to see if I can get audio in here. So, you started off as, a 5, and you went down to a 0. And, that's the whole point of it, really.
Right. Can you hear me?
Just gonna use microphone. I'm still trying to see if I can get audio.
Can you hear me?
Let me see something. Would you mind if I try to sign back in, or just?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Be right back in 1 second. I'll sign back in. I don't know what happened here.
So one of the things I always say is that we should really start paying attention to ourselves. That's why I'm having the young lady join us tonight, because, when thoughts come up, And it's like I was saying earlier, you can see what's going on around you. You know if some bullshit is going on. Nobody has to tell you. It's like babies can pick up certain things that's going on. How is it when we're older, we don't know or we can't pick it up?
Got it.
You can hear me now?
Yes, finally.
Cool. Okay, cool. Okay.
Just to make sure that doesn't happen, I'm not leaving from the seat again.
Okay, cool.
So what did you think?
I think it's cool. And that's what I was just telling the chat while you were gone. I think a lot of times, with the exercise that you just showed, I think a lot of times, whether it's our confidence, our self-esteem, or whatever is low, we don't think that we're anything. We think we have to get all our emotions and feelings from somebody else, when we can just tap into ourselves.
That's true, because when you help heal yourself, you're your own hero. So you don't have to go outside and look for others, because in a sense, you solved your own problem.
Right.
And when you do that, that gains you a bit of self-confidence.
Right.
So it's really like, you all doing the work and we just help, like a facilitator of sorts.
I understand.
So, yeah, and the whole point is to, like I was saying, get that down to 0. And, sometimes, like, it can go back up, it can go down. But if, like, let's say you don't get somebody's, like, a number to 0, like we did here with you, then it means that there's a more deeply rooted issue at hand.
Well, yeah, I understand that. It's not really a deeply rooted issue, but it's like we're playing games. We know something else needs to be done, but we just continue playing this game. That's more what it's like to me.
Well, my personal opinion is, unless they talking about giving us our land back, then I'm not voting, because this is just the new colonizer who's taking over,
right.
For the American slaves down here. So I'm not, unless we're talking about giving my land back, then I don't see a purpose to voting.
Right.
Yeah, my mom made me drop off her mail-in ballot for like Biden and Camel Toe Harris, and I nearly wanted to barf or throw up or something. It was awful.
Copper Colored Lifestyle says this: love is exercise. I'll be doing this often. Thank you.
Yeah, please do.
So what you just asked me. So I know, you do this exercise all the time. Mm-hmm. So what direction does it take when you do what your mom asked you to do? Does it go up?
Well, in terms of this, I don't tap. I just kind of like, block it out. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to go drop this down at like, the ballot office. Luckily, it was like closed because the kiosk isn't open yet, because they want to put them cameras up there, I guess, to make sure no one's like cheating or whatever. But, I don't like it, but I'm just like, listen, if that's what she wants to do, it's her own free will. I'll just drop it off there. Just don't ask me to participate.
Okay, so this is what I noticed. So I guess I'm really not. It really doesn't piss me off or anything. But I ask myself, how can you be so? Everybody in my family, they watch the same TV channel.
Yep.
They watch the same thing that's going for Biden or Bush, and they hate Trump. I'm talking about steam coming out of their nose and everything. And okay, but if you're a Christian and you're all of this, why are you feeling this way?
Shouldn't it be like love thy neighbor or something?
And this is the thing that gets me. You don't understand how Biden be fondling these little girls and stuff. You don't, the Kamala Harris thing. You got to know it because everybody's talking about it, but they act like that doesn't matter. And with this Biden pedophile thing, I'm like, how can you not know that? Is your hatred so deep seated that you just overlook that, or how does that work?
Well, I'm guessing that most people are probably like, well, as long as he's not sniffing my little girl's hair or sticking anything up any kid's orifices that I know, then I don't care. That's probably what they're like. And a lot of them are like, well, it's the lesser of two evils, but it's like, aren't you still voting for evil? So what are we doing here?
Right. And so if I'm annoyed at anything, is that type thinking? Or is it thinking?
No, it's just robotic, because remember, the television, that's why they call it TV programming, because it programs you. So all these people who sit around, they watch this television all day, it's programming them. And people like, God, what was the guy's name? I think it was called Mass Media. Jim Keith wrote a book about it, about how they're literally programming people, because they send waves and frequencies, as we were talking about, out through these television streams.
Speaking of that, what happens when if a person goes to sleep with their TV on? Because if I'm in a room and like say my girlfriend or whoever's in the room and the TV, I can still see all the shadows and stuff moving around. Does that have any impact on people? Just those shadows and stuff? Because when you say frequency, I'm thinking along that line. It's something that happens, a lot. And those shadows move all the time.
Well, the thing is, too, when you're asleep or it's at nighttime, you're most susceptible to spiritual attacks and things like this. So some people say they can't sleep without the TV on, so I guess maybe it works for some people. I don't know. But other than that, it's like when you have it on at night, you're more susceptible. That's why these things like night demons and incubuses and succubuses come to get people when? Nighttime. People hear about all this messed up stuff happens when? Nighttime, because people are more susceptible. So I think having the TV on, definitely depending on what you watch, I wouldn't want it on, period. But yeah, I think it can influence you, because it's kind of like, when you're asleep, you get these delta, theta waves or whatever.
Right.
And that television is programming you throughout the night. Mm-hmm. So that's how I look at it.
No, I see it. I see that. And what about dreams? Do these exercises, this imprinting, this matrix reimprinting, does that happen throughout through the dreams too?
It could, because your dreams pretty much are like we spend a lot of our time sleep, and in dreams you think about it like 8 hours, maybe 8 hours, maybe some people 5 or 4 hours a day. That's a lot of time to be not awake. So your dreams definitely mean something. With EFT, because your dreams are kind of like telling you something about yourself, I would think that would work with them within there too, because you're not as bothered, so you're not as stressed,
But you're also you're not as alert, or you're not paying attention. I wouldn't say not paying attention, but you're not, you're not really paying attention to what's going on around you.
Well, that's true. Like, one thing I did that was pretty interesting, if you put on like Solfeggio Frequencies, those are really good for you. And let's say you play it at night, kind of in a loop, like, low enough so that you can sleep, it does help. I remember I've waken up feeling refreshed in the morning, or of those.
What's that called?
Solfeggio Frequencies. SOLFE. Sure.
SOF.
No, I'm sorry. SOL.
Hold on.
Sure.
SOL.
Mm-hmm. F. E. G.
GT.
No, 2 G's. GG.
IO.
So they. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Frequency.
What?
Solfeggio frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just want to write it down.
So there are frequencies that go, like, they have certain tones for each frequency, and they're supposed to heal you as they go up and down, like chakras, all this kind of stuff. But I've noticed that, they've helped. And then if you put like they'll have it on YouTube too. Like, sometimes they'll have that brainwave stuff, and it'll be like, yeah, there you go, Scout. Solfeggio frequency. Yep. And if you put that on at night, because like you're more susceptible at night, so you're more susceptible to brainwashing. But, why not do your own brainwashing and leave the computer on for a little bit, put Solfeggio Frequencies up there, or some other brainwave frequencies, because they have stuff like that up there. That is like, stuff for like health, immunity. Like I just put it on, and I've noticed when I put that stuff on at night, it really has helped. Yep, the TV is a weapon. Yep, he's right, it is a weapon. MK Ultra. Yep, or more or less like Operation Mockingbird, I think.
So can you explain the difference between the two, the MK Ultra and the MK Mockingbird? Because I've heard of them. I'm familiar with them. A lot of people may not be familiar with them.
So MK Ultra, Mind Control Ultra, like came out of basically like, was it CIA or Tavistock Institute, I think, had something to do with it. So basically it's pretty much brainwashing, and they torture people, particularly kids, things like this. And depending on what type of torture they get, some kids can be programmed to be assassins. Some of them can program to be beta sex kittens. Some of them, there's other programs that they have, but basically they disassociate you. So remember when I was talking about how when messed up stuff happens to you, your brain opens up, captures it, and it goes back into the midst of your mind again until something like that happens. And then, yep, Project Paperclip. That was with the Nazis, though, the Project Paperclip, when they brought those Nazis over. But pretty much with MK Ultra, they're disassociating people. So they used to call it multiple personality disorder. Now it's dissociative disorder. So basically your mind's like a computer. So they break you, fracture you in order to program your mind. And people have gotten what's it called? What's that called where it's like they remember everything? I forgot what that's called. But like for example, Kathy O'Brien talks about that.
Right.
And a lot of them, so a lot of those kids come from like satanic households, meaning the father or the mother, whatever like that, because moms do stuff. So, I'm just going to pick on men. They'll just take them out of those households, particularly if, let's say, they got caught with like child porn, something like that. A lot of ways they get kids too is CPS, Child Protective Services. So basically, with that, I mean, usually you want to get these kids when they're younger. If it's before the age of 6 or 7, before that part of the brain starts activating, I think it's called hypnagogic state, or so, or they're still in a hypnagogic state up to that point, then children are easily susceptible or accessible to mind control and brainwashing. So I knew somebody who got tortured in vitro in the womb, so they would turn out a certain way.
How does that happen?
They electroshocked his mother while he was in the womb. Because the one thing people don't think about, like when women get pregnant, did you know that mental illness starts in the second trimester?
No.
Oh, yeah. So when, that's why they tell mothers, oh, don't worry, don't stress, don't do stuff like that, because your baby hears all that stuff.
Right.
They do. So, a lot of these times, most children, about half of them or so, are oops babies, mistakes, meaning your parents didn't plan you. Backseat babies or whatever. You know what I mean? So, mother finds out she's pregnant. Oh, shit, what am I going to do? Abortion, oh, crap, the kid's not getting welcome. Your kid hears all that. They've actually done studies on mice where they said, okay, they set out, a piece of cheese in a trap, and the mouse goes back to it a couple of times, and then it stops because it realizes it's going to get shocked or whatever. And that programming gets passed down to the child. So even though the child, like, let's say the mouse has a baby, the baby mouse won't go near the won't go near the cheese, because it'll remember, what happened to its mother. They've done this with monarch programming. That's why they call some of this monarch programming with MK Ultra, because of the monarch butterflies. They never make it to their destination, but in terms of that one singular butterfly, but their grandchildren or whatever might make it to their destination wherever they're going and fly back, and they have that genetic memory.
So how come humans don't pick up on it like that?
Why don't humans pick up on it like that?
Yeah.
Humans do. Like, remember, when we were talking about like spankings and stuff like that, and it gets like passed down or whatever, like traumatic, like every race, for example, has traumatic memories. Like they'll say we have racial karma, like family karma, and this kind of stuff that gets passed down. Because if, like, for example, if we're like souls and we never die, right? Because technically we're immortal as spirits. This is a vessel. That's a vessel. All the listeners out here have vessels. And when you die, you get spit back out into the matrix into another vessel, wherever that may be.
Right.
So you never die. So all this information just gets passed on, and it's frequencies. It's genetic memories.
Because when you say a rat, so if a rat passes down that to his babies that don't go near that cheese,
because it'll get shocked. I forgot what the scientific experiment was called, but they did a scientific experiment with that. And they also did one with monarch butterflies about how do these butterflies know to fly to this destination every year, even though they don't make it, but their children or their children's make it, right. And then they fly back to where they were. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or genetic imprinting or whatever, Yeah,
well, yeah, I got you. I hear you, and that's why I want to have you on, because I know there's other things that we do that we really don't pay attention to, or that they're so subtle we never get it. So last thing you want to say to the crowd, because this trip that I did to Virginia this past weekend is starting to pull my eyes shut.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess just stay healthy and keep trying to find things that'll help you, and don't give up on trying to heal yourself, trying to heal others, because there's things out there, and you don't necessarily always have to go for the conventional point of view. Like, there's orgonite, I make these, I do Rife, I do radionics, EFT, matrix reimprinting. There's people out there that want to help, and that can help you help yourself, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. And on the orgonite, making the orgonite is real simple. I used to make mine with muffin pan.
Yeah, that's how I started.
Yeah.
And that's something like real simple you can do. And all these technologies, aren't that expensive. They really aren't. And they do a world of good.
When you say organic material, crystals, rocks, copper, all of that stuff, steel, wool. Can you, before you go, can you explain that, what is meant by that being organic material?
Well, anything that comes from the earth is organic material. So, like crystals, organic material, we're organic material, resin, I think they make that from plastics, but that's considered kind of like inorganic. So when you put metals, crystals, and this kind of stuff into plastic and it hardens, crystals are living, they keep wanting to grow. So what happens is they give off this effect as they're smashing up against the plastic.
Okay.
And like that's the whole theory behind it, and it takes in the surrounding energy and puts it back down at its earth magnetic base field, which is like 0 or neutral. So it neutralizes out destructive orgone energy. Or turns it into positive orgone energy. Anything from the earth's, positive. So.
Okay, Ray. So I'm going to have you back because there's something else that we have to talk about. Cool. So I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm sorry it was so quick, but I just got in and it's been a long weekend.
Don't worry about it. I apologize for these technical issues. I had to go down here on this old computer, and I don't know what happened with these headphones, but.
Well, cool. Now, what does that say on your shirt?
Ani Yonhuia.
So those last 3 letters, those are letters that the indigenous American used to write with. or communicate with?
Okay, well, this is the Jalagi. These are Jalagi letters. So my tribes, I'm actually a mixture of tribes. I'm Aniyahuia, which is Cherokee. I'm Chata, which is Choctaw. I'm, oh boy, my grandma would kill me for this if she were alive. Nistepi, Blackfeet or something. And Creek, but I think we're probably Creek going back because of our last name. So on my mother's side.
Okay. No, I mean, these are things that we have to know too, because I just came from an event, and the people up there, the Accomacs, you know, that kind of writing. You can look at some of that kind of writing is on the graves, you know, and those are. And I'll be wondering, not the D, H, and the B, but the last two letters.
Oh, okay. So let me see. So this is ni, yon, we, ya. So it's like, hope I explained that way. Because some of these letters the ones down here, I haven't really like learned yet. I'm still like working on learning my own native language for Jalagi. But yeah, Ani Yahweh.
Okay, so you know, I just wanted to share it with the group so they could see it, and you know, maybe they can start learning something from it and picking up something and passing it on and teaching it. Because,
oh sure, I mean this guy who I got this from, I think it's Am Origine, or I can't even. All right, yeah, everybody sees that, right? Am. Get my throw out the way here. It's mirror image. All this. All right, here we go. He has. I bought 4 of those T-shirts because he had all my tribes up there. So I'm like, yep, give me 4 of them. Wore them out with pride. I didn't even wash them when I got them. Couldn't wait to put them on. And I normally wash my clothes too, but I just couldn't wait to put this on my back. And there, he has images of Indians that look like us. So my Chata shirt, I kind of wore that out, and that had Indians that looked like us in their dirty clothes, and I wanted to wear my Ani Yahweh shirt, you know.
Okay, so Naira Smith is asking, can you make her something? So can you give out your information for those who
sure.
contact you?
Sure. So if I'm trying to think here, if you go to, I'll give you my Instagram because that has my most updated stuff and my email address. So if you go to 777.
Hold on.
Sure. Do you actually want me to write it on the side here?
Well, I mean, you can, but you can. I'm doing it.
Okay. Well, I'll write it and say it. So 777. Holistic Artisan 777, and that's my Instagram page. And then holistic artisan at gmail.com is my email. So it's holistic artisan with a W at
okay.
I'm sorry?
You wrote that in the private chat.
Oh.
You want to do it with the group.
Okay, so I need to go to comments then, right?
Right.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, yeah, I'll do that down here. How come I can't? Oh, there it is. I don't know why I couldn't like write down here.
Okay, I got it anyway.
Should I like sign up for an account or something? You think that would make this go smoother?
Account for what? No, you're doing. You just have to learn it, and that's what I'll do one day. You just got to play with it, you know, because it's your first time.
Yeah, it is, and I feel like I missed stuff. Even though I talked a lot, I feel like I missed some points, and I'm like, oh God, because I'm like a little nervous too.
Okay, well, that's where we're gonna have you back again, and I'll just let you go through it, you know, because it's a real simple platform. So there's 777 Holistic Artisan 777.
Mm-hmm. And so that's my Instagram page, and that'll have like all my latest designs up there. I have an Etsy page too, but I don't really use that often. If people wanted to see my latest stuff, they're better off going to Instagram. Because, you know, Etsy wants to take like a portion of my sales. And as an artist, I think that, you know, sucks donkey balls quite personally. So I just don't, you know, use it that often.
Cool. Well, don't go nowhere. I'll just say good night to everyone. And I want to thank you, Rae, for joining us tonight. It was really cool you're going to have me listening to those Solfeggio Frequencies tonight.
Oh yeah, listen to them when you go to sleep, and then they have brainwave and other stuff up there. So for whatever you want, like, just listen to them, put it on like a low level, and because you're asleep or you're in that theta state, you're actually like brainwashing yourself. So I figure if they're going to come up here and brainwash us, I might as well just brainwash, myself. So,
Cool. Well, I want to say good night to everybody and thank you for joining us tonight. And we're going to get back with you this week because I want to share with everybody the Acamac videos I took up there. It's going to blow you guys away.
That's cool.
Yeah, you guys have a good night and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Don't die. Go home.